We're rolling! Hi everyone, welcome to Just Stripper Things, now with production value. We're very excited about this. Today I'm going to be talking about a thing that I'm kind of excited about. I've been participating in a project called the Human Library Project for a couple of years now. And it all came about because of complete accident of high school students trying to shut down a local strip club, and we got this whole huge conversation going about talking to young people about stigma, damaging stereotypes, yada yada yada. So that's kind of how I got on board. And funny enough, I was thinking about doing a video about it, and not even a day after I get an email going, oh hey, Human Library this year at this date. So I've been kind of thinking about that a fair amount. We all talk as if we are books. We are books that everybody gets to read by asking us questions and so on and so forth. It's really cool. And my book title typically is Exotic Dancer / Wrestler, because I trained in pro wrestling for about 2 years and I refereed with ECCW. Probably the best reaction I ever got was I was sitting at my table, because you all get your own little table, and then the students sit around your table and ask you questions and such, and you all have your little title cards. And we were just in the process of switching over groups, so a new group had just walked into the room, and these two guys come and they sit down at the table, kind of looking around. I'm like, hi, how's it going? And they're like, where's the wrestler? Hi, how's it going? And it's funny because they always go, that's quite the shift in hobbies, professions, yada yada, when really it kind of completely made sense. When I was younger, I wasn't very athletic. I was pretty convinced that I wasn't good at anything except for being a goalie, because my dad kind of taught me to be a goalie because that's what he did in soccer. And so that was my one and only strength. Other than that, I couldn't run. I could lift weights, but I couldn't do anything else. So when I started dancing and learned pole tricks, did shows all the time, got into ridiculous shape, and all of a sudden I'm holding myself sideways off the pole going, how the fuck am I doing this? This is awesome! That gave me the confidence to pursue professional wrestling, which was also inspired by dancing, because my best friend and I, we decided that, guys like naked women, guys like wrestling. What if you had 2 naked women wrestling? Now, I know it's been done before, but not in the way that you're thinking. No. Jen was the underwear taker, and I was Jess Hardy. And we fought for a title. We spent quite a few nights in my old living room looking through the move sets in an old WE game, trying to figure out how to put on these moves, and we're practicing chops. We chopped the crap out of each other, okay? The duo didn't super go over well. Most of the guys are sitting there like, I don't understand what's going on. Why are they beating each other up? When are they gonna do like lesbian action stuff? And we're like, nah, we're just gonna wrestle. We're just gonna beat the crap out of each other. It's fine. There were 2 guys in front row that were absolutely digging it though. They were obviously wrestling fans. So the moment that I start putting her lips on here and do this, they're like, oh, sharpshooter! They completely freaked out. So that's when you're like, these guys, these are our marks. This is where we're going. All right. So at a later point in the show, when I'm about to take off Jen's underwear, these 2 guys, I've got her in a hold, okay? And then I'm taking off underwear, because that's how dancing and wrestling works when you put them together, right? Yeah, makes sense. I go to take it off and I kind of stop. If you want to see this underwear off, give me a hell yeah. And of course these 2 guys, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Take off the underwear. And of course they flipped. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. Most other people were still just kind of sitting there like, I don't get it. Needless to say, we were not asked to do that duo again. We were told, maybe next time can you do a normal duo? And the two of us are just like, who do you think you're talking to? That's not in our lexicon at all. But we had so much fun with it that we decided, you know what? How about we try this for real? And honestly, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have thought of doing it in the first place. But there are quite a few little things that kind of go hand in hand. You do have to be very aware of what your body is doing, what you're doing with your body, what you are capable of doing with your body, what your limits are, what you can and can't take, all of that. And there is a lot of protecting yourself in dancing in some ways as well, you know. If you're bailing off the pole, you kind of have to fall without absolutely wrecking yourself. And some of that does translate in, as does having control over different parts of your body, which comes from pole dancing. And of course, the confidence in your own physical abilities. When I was in the wrestling scene and yada yada, it kind of came in handy coming from a dancing background. In more ways than I would have thought, unfortunately. There was one time where we had this amazing match. This is when I was refereeing. And it was TJ Wilson and one of our local guys, Memphis Reigns. Now, nobody was really surprised when TJ Wilson got signed to the WWE, because he was amazing and this was such a good match. But towards the beginning of the match, as I was doing a count, I got down and ripped. And all I could think was, that's what I get for buying $10 pants. Shit. And I realized, yep, they ripped basically all the way down, seam to seam. And at that point in my life, I was basically only wearing thong underwear. So I get back up and I'm just trying to ref the match like normal. Pretend that nothing happened. Just do your job. Just be professional. And I'm trying to kind of do this. Have my hands kind of behind my back. Maybe try and mitigate the damage, even though there's no mitigating this damage. None. Zero. And for a couple minutes, I thought maybe I got away with it. Until you start to kind of hear the whispers. Okay, now we're on this side of the ring. Okay, just doing my job, Okay, and then the whispers spread, and they turned into a chant. Ref is cheeky. Ref is cheeky. Cool. Awesome. Great. Okay. Starting to freak out a little bit now because there's this amazing match going on and nobody's bloody well paying attention because they're too busy chanting ref is cheeky. Okay, yes, funny. What's the fucking match? Okay, you're gonna keep chanting. Okay, that's fine. And at one point I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, I am so embarrassed, I'm going to die. We had pretty much a full house at the venue that we were at. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's like 250 to 300 people here right now that are seeing my butt. Okay. Way more people than that have seen me completely naked. You're fine. You're fine. Maximum occupancy at the Red Lion was like 200 people. I'm pretty sure the place has been full when I've been on stage getting naked. You're fine. You're fine. So I rallied and we finished the match. And I get backstage basically as fast as I can. I'm like, oh, okay, this person won. Yay. I'm out of here. Fuck. I get backstage. And there were some funny reactions, of course. My trainer was just like, good job. That was fantastic. You did so good. You were such a pro. Good job. I'm proud of you. And I'm like, yeah, well, when you get naked for a living, I guess showing your butt in front of 250 people isn't that big of a deal. He's like, no, you were really good. You were good. It's awesome. And the ring announcer shook my hand. He's like, good job. A lot of other people would have just run out of the ring screaming at that point. And then one of the other guys is like, so did you see the curtain move? What? Apparently a bunch of the guys from backstage were trying to peer through the curtain. as this is going on. It's like, oh my god, you guys. No, I did not see the curtain move. Thanks. Thank you. That's great. It was not the first time or the last time that an article of clothing came off because, of course, when you're the only woman and people know that you get naked for a living, they go, oh, well, what about in this match, in this spot? To distract the ref, they'll pull your shirt up and it'll be so funny. I'm like, that's hilarious. I fucking hate you, but I'm nobody, so okay. I guess we'll do that spot. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Refereeing wasn't exactly a paid gig at first. After a while, I started getting paid a bit. Wasn't much. And the funny thing is, after we did like a super mini Northern Hell tour where we went up to in between like Williams Lake and Prince George or whatever, and Leatherface actually paid me twice what I would usually get at ECCW. I guess word got back to the promoter and he started paying me that much. Still wasn't very much. You cannot make a living off of that at all. Even the guys who wrestled regularly and would obviously get paid more than just a ref, they still had to have day jobs and all that. The wrestling match that I did with Jen was at the strip club. This is before we had any sort of formal training. The reffing came after a bit of training, and because they wanted a female ref for Supergirls, which was ECCW's all-woman promotion. So that is specifically why I started being a ref. That was not part of my plan, and I wasn't really trained for it. I wasn't really given instruction. They're just like, here's a ref shirt. You're gonna ref tonight. Okay. I didn't have as much appreciation for what refs actually do until I had to do it myself and realized how bloody difficult it is. I mean, you do kind of learn some things, like the basic rules, positioning, knowing where people are going to be at any given time in a match, because if you've trained in wrestling, you kind of know the general choreography of things. People will get up on this side. Okay, they're doing this, so they're going to be over here, so I got to be out of the way, so I'm not in the way of this spot, yada, yada, yada. But there were rules that I wasn't aware of because I wasn't really paying attention when I watched matches where they came in, or they were just rules that didn't come up in a lot of matches and I hadn't seen those matches. So all of a sudden that comes up, I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay. And there was a lot of stuff that was just kind of learned on the fly. But it could be a lot of fun. Of course, as a ref, I had no hit points. I was very squishy, as all refs are. So there was a time where we had a spot, I don't know if it was a 3 or 4-way or like 2 different tag teams, and there were a lot of people in the ring. That's all I remember. There were a lot of very big people in the ring. Now, I'm 6 foot, so I'm pretty big for a woman, but not compared to these guys. And in this match, there was a spot where one of the big guys picked up one of the other big guys, swung him around, and the feet went, and since I have no hit points, I was out. So, no, it's okay. I was okay. It's choreographed. Don't say fake. That's a 4-letter word, starting with an F, so don't fucking use it. Says me, the hypocrite who just said fucking. But it is choreographed. So we're setting up the spot where I have to be out so that the baddies can do their bad thing. Well, I'm on the apron, the edge of the ring, and I am selling being knocked out. And I'm like this. And I'm waiting for my cue. My cue is still gonna be in a bit. When all of a sudden, splash. A fan threw water in my face! I couldn't react to it because I'm still supposed to be passed out. And I can feel the sweat off my face and the mascara going into my eye, and it's stinging, and I'm lying there going, motherfucker, what the fucking fuck? God damn it! Ah! I get my cue. I do the thing. I count the match. Bad guys win because they cheated and they knocked out the ref. Da 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 da. Swing up onto the edge of the apron. course, I'm supposed to be really hurt. So I'm like this on the edge of the apron. I'm just like, oof. Who threw water in my face? What the hell? As we get out of the ring and go through to the back area where the change rooms and such, where the locker rooms are, this young woman comes up to me. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My grandma was trying to wake you up, so she threw her water in your face. I'm so sorry about that." And I'm just like, that's okay. When I complained about it backstage, they're like, "Well, that's a good thing. It means you were selling really well." Ah, shut up. I mean, you're not the one with mascara in your eye.
What do you think of Glow? Because I've watched Glow, and that's what I'm getting, is that Glow vibe.
My feelings on Glow, I did enjoy the show quite a bit.
Okay.
I like what they went into with, how much physicality goes into it, with how much creativity, and how you have to take, I think it was, oh my god, I can't remember if it was Mick Foley or The Rock. I think it was Mick Foley who said that the most successful characters are a part of yourself with the volume turned all the way up. And that's really a part that I think came through in that show as a representation. Now, the actual Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling show from the 80s itself has been on my Netflix queue forever, and I've never actually gotten to it. So I don't know how accurate the show Glow, the current one, is of what that wrestling scene was then. But I did enjoy it quite thoroughly, and I'm looking forward to the next season. Good actresses in it and stuff. The parts of the characters that I felt were genuine were more of the side characters. I kind of feel like the storyline of the cheating best friend angle and the jealousy, that's a little bit overplayed. I mean, we get all these stereotypes about how women are so catty and, we're all stealing each other's boyfriends or husbands or whatever. I thought that was a little bit trite and overplayed, but the relationships that they had with, like, the other side characters, the trainer's story, hers was really cool. Like, the one woman who actually knew what she was doing, that was in there kind of trying to show them how to do things and such, because you do get a bit of that kind of mentorship. Towards, I think, the second year of training, I was no longer the only woman there, and there were two other women. And as soon as you step into the ring with two other women and you're all looking at the same goal, you just, I don't know if it's the same for everybody else, but we just immediately felt that kinship, and we wanted to support each other, look out for each other, and help each other succeed. There wasn't that cattiness. Nobody was stealing anyone's boyfriend. Or sleeping with their husband or whatever it was. I forget that bit. All the stories at that point were for men, by men, about men, and at least in the ring you could tell a story about women instead. When it comes to talking about wrestling specifically with the teenagers that I get to talk to in the Human Library, one bit of feedback that I really wasn't expecting, and we would get these little notes and letters a couple months after doing the Human Library from students who felt inspired by us or who felt that they learned from us, and they would kind of share their thoughts with us. And one that came up was, thank you for making me feel like it's okay for women to like things like wrestling and things that are deemed masculine, and that these things have no gender. Which I'm glad that I got through, because why would hobbies and interests have a gender? That is some weird ass heteronormative freaking gender binary crap that just makes no sense. Some women like violence. Some men like My Little Pony. It's fine. But the funny thing is, there is that perceived, wrestling is a boys' club. Wrestling is for boys. Da 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 da. And it's a thing that the industry is obviously still trying to kick. And it was still something that I had to confront when I started training as well. When I got in the ring with some of the guys, especially the first couple months of training when I was the only woman. They'd never been in the ring with a woman before. They'd never really been in the ring with anyone before, but that's besides the point apparently because I have boobs. And they'd be going in for a lockup going, what is this? What is it? What? In what part of wrestling do you ever... What are you doing? It's like they were trying to be super ginger with me because I'm a delicate flower. Look at me, the delicate flower that I am. Oh my god, I'm 6 foot tall, I have broad shoulders. Yes, you are going to crush me with your manliness. They got over that eventually, most of them. But it was still one of those really frustrating things. But it was rewarding in the end. Because there was a point where I was talking with the other 2 women that started training with us. And at this point, most of the people that I've been training had already been training with me. And I can't remember which one of them said it, but one of them said like, oh, you know, me and so-and-so we're talking about how we are so lucky that you came before us. And basically these guys were like broken in for us. They didn't have that awkward, what do I do? It's a girl in a ring. You treat her like everybody else. We're all here for the same thing. We're all doing the same thing. We're all taking the same risks. We're all aware of the risks. We're here in this together. And there were guys that were in training that from like day one just didn't treat me any different. And I'm really happy to say that one of them just recently got signed with WE Developmental, and he was on the NXT pay-per-view, and I had no idea. And I freaked out because I was just telling my friend about how the first time we stepped into a ring together, we had never met before, but he was friends with another guy that I kind of knew from the shows, and every once in a while we joke around, so we kind of knew each other. We're like, hey, you're that punk dude. Hey, you're that alt chick. Cool. So when we stepped in the ring together, we were fine. But this dude, never met him before. First time we stepped into the ring together to do a lockup. And I guess he had also witnessed the patheticness. So we step in there. We go to lock up. This is just a simple lockup, okay? It's not like a big move or anything. But still, we step in there and it's like, BAM! There was an echo from the slap of us locking up that like reverberated off the walls of the tiny training facility. It was the coolest freaking thing ever! Who knew you could strong style a lockup? I was not expecting that. I was not expecting it at all. But it was so freaking cool. And we had this set up where like, you know, here's the ring. We line up on the outside of the ring. We're all in line. We take turns going in and doing the moves. And everybody gets to do the move with each other and da-da-da-da. So we do this freaking strong style lockup. And we get back onto the apron, back into line. I turn around, I'm like, hey man, thanks for not taking it easy on me. And he goes, well, I'll never take it easy on you, sister. And that was just like the best thing ever. So getting to watch my friend Kyle in the ring doing stuff that we did together. I'm like, yeah, those forearms, yeah. I remember we did those. We'd be stiffing the crap out of each other, throwing forearms at each other. Just kind of going blam, blam, blam. Yeah, you good? Yeah, that's good. It's good. Awesome. We're kind of into strong style, Japanese style wrestling, like Misawa, Kawada, those guys who basically would chop the crap out of each other, kick each other in the head. It was kind of the thing. We're kind of obsessed with it. that was our big obsession of like half of our class was the idea of incorporating things that look and sound and feel real without putting each other at risk or in danger. Because chopping the crap out of each other, you're going to be sore the next day, but you're still going to be able to go to work. You're not going to be injured. You're not going to be out. So that was kind of the line that we were towing. Some of the old school guys really didn't like it. I was in wrestling probably for 2.5 years. I never actually got my real in-ring debut. The first time I was supposed to make my debut was in a tag match, and basically the day before I tore my rotator cuff in training. It sucked. I couldn't even ref. I was like handing out raffle tickets, like, raffle tickets. And everyone's like, why are you not reffing? I'm like, because I can't move my arm past here. The timeline between dancing and wrestling at first was intermingled, which led to fun things. Like the training facility was actually not even a block away from one of the clubs, which is why I booked with that club a lot. And there was one time where, like, in between shows, I checked my voicemail, and the guy's like, oh, hey, we're in here, we're training, and in the back you hear, "Foom, ho, foom, oi." And I could hear one of the guys, I'm like, oh, that's Bomber. Oi, yep. That's Bomber doing a move, okay. And there's this message going over, oh, hey, so we're just at the facility and we're going to be here at this time. If you want to come join us, I know you're working at the Bird, da-da-da-da. Hey! So that was fun. I went down to the facility in like full face of makeup, put my hair up, did some rolls, did some things, and then went back and had to do a show. So that was entertaining. But the unfortunate thing is, with dancing, I was on the road a lot. So once we actually had a formal class and they had a formal schedule, because when I first started training, it was before there was an actual official class through ECCW. I was training with one of the guys who had been doing training for the company before, but they didn't have a full class. So I got to train with a couple people in this facility that they set up, and then they had a formal thing with a set schedule, and because they had a set schedule and I was on the road a bunch, I would miss so much, and I get back in there, I'm like, fuck it, and now you guys are doing this thing, and I've never done it before, and now you guys are so ahead of me. And when I started training, I was 25, I think, and most of these guys were like 17, 18, 20 at most. So yes, they were definitely babies, and at that age your body still learns things so much quicker, and your reaction times are better, and your muscle memory, just you catch on to things so much faster, and you have so much more of that peak physical ability. So when I missed classes, I wouldn't just be behind, I would be behind because I wasn't 100% at the same sort of condition that they were in. So I would feel even more behind. And so I ended up taking a really crappy minimum wage job, quitting dancing and just focusing on wrestling. I didn't last super long, so I started doing Sundays at different strip clubs, because you could do like a Sunday here, Sunday there, and then I do like, you know, a rookie contest here, rookie contest there. And a lot of times I'd be doing Sundays at like T-bars right after training. So one time we were kind of having a really fuck around, lazy Sunday, and I got along with the DJ because he was a weirdo and I'm a weirdo. So we did really stupid shit where I'm like, hey, what if I play this song and then like the remix of the song right after? Do you mind? It's like, no, that's hilarious. Let's do it. So one time I'm like, hey. So I got my wrestling gear with me. So I put on my knee pads and like my shoes that I use for wrestling, and I just started doing like rolls and stuff around the stage during my show. Like a weirdo. The crowd was a little confused, but I got naked at the end, so they're like, oh, okay, I guess there's that. The DJ comes back to the dressing room to give me back my music, and he's just like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. That was funny. That's great. I like it. I'm like, well, as long as we're entertained, right? That's what matters. At that point, I still really missed dancing in a lot of ways. Going back to a day job kind of sucked. Especially going from dancing to a boring day job. Because you don't have that same, I don't know, that freedom of expression. Even a while later, when I like quit the minimum wage job, went back to dancing for a bit, and then I stopped dancing and I went into back into cosmetics at one point. I still had bits of stripper brain going on where a coworker said something about birth control and cramps, and I'm like, oh, well, if you have cramps, take birth control. Oh no, then I'll have small babies. I'm like, oh fine, then masturbate, jeez. And everybody was just so shocked at me suggesting masturbation. I'm like, oh, right, I'm not backstage. We're not talking about sex, and my friend isn't demonstrating a really awkward oral technique that all guys tend to do. That was still the best thing I've ever seen, because we're hanging around. It was literally like, don't you hate when they do this? Oh yeah, and then they do this thing, and then it's like, you can't even operate one properly at one time. Why are you trying to do both? What are you doing? Focus on one. Do the one right, you won't need to do the two. Jeez. Anyways, that was literally the best conversation I ever had in a dressing room ever. Was just randomly we started talking about annoying things guys do in bed, and my friend starts doing this impression right in the middle of the dressing room, and the rest of us are just killing ourselves laughing, because that's the thing when you're in a dressing room and you are on such a level with people that you come back from your show, you take off your thing, you're walking around naked, you sit down in a towel and have a drink, and you're still naked, because whatever. And then there's another person getting ready for her show, and she's stark naked by the mirror, going like this. She's checking her cookie for toilet paper. And sometimes you go to open the door and you're like, whoop, hi, cookie check. That's your vagina. That's cool. Cookie check. It's a very valuable thing, actually, because that can be a more considerate partner. It's like, okay, if I think there's going to be something going on there, I'm just going to make sure that there's no toilet paper there, because, somebody munching on little bits of toilet paper caught there, that doesn't sound pleasant. So I feel like I took away a lot of things from dancing that really helped. That was not PG-13. A stripper will always do a cookie check. Any sex worker, I think, would probably do a cookie check. Just saying, there are pros. There are definite pros. You get on this level where so many walls and, social conventions just aren't there anymore. Because, when it comes down to it, when you're in the dressing room getting ready for shows, or when you've just come off stage, whether you had an amazing show, or if you had a really bad show, if you had an abusive customer, if someone's being a jerk in the bar, usually you would tell everybody else, and there's that kind of looking out for each other, there's that sisterhood. There was one time when I first started dancing, and there were two dancers on the lineup that were, they were just trying to cut me down. They were making passive-aggressive little comments at me and pretending like, oh, you need to do this, and you need to work on this, and da-da-da-da, because I was a rookie. And like, oh no, I'm just trying to be helpful. The funniest thing is one of the girls is like, when you're on stage, you walk like a wrestler. 4 years later, I was a wrestler walking like a stripper. But especially because this was one of the first weeks that I spent at an out-of-town booking, and half the lineup was just so awful, and I was away from home. I was away from my cats. Actually, at this point, I think I only had one cat. I was away from my roommate, I was away from everything that was mine. In a strange place, half these people are being fucking jerks for God knows what reason. So I'm in the change room, and I sat there with my music, and it got to me, and I was crying, and I was really upset. Oh no, wait, I wasn't crying at this point, but I was really upset. And one of the other women on the lineup, she came in, and she just took one look at my face, and she goes, oh my God, honey, what's wrong? And she was just so genuine and nice that's when I started crying. I immediately just started crying. I cried, and she gave me a big hug, and she was really nice and supportive, and she's just like, look, don't let this get to you. They're just the kind of people who like to cut others down because they don't feel that they're good enough or that they're going to be replaced by, these rookies coming in. And just don't worry about it. This is not on you. This is on them. Just do your shows, do your best. You'll be fine. Everything will be fine. Don't worry about it. And because she was more of like a veteran dancer, she'd been in the business for a while, she came from this place of complete experience and wisdom and strength, knowing that, yes, you are going to be okay. And that really comes through. And I felt so much better. And things did get better, I learned how to walk like a stripper. I would later teach my coworker at the cleaning counter in Sears Robson how to walk like a stripper. We were really bored. I'm like, okay, come on, Zrinka. You gotta swing your hips. Okay, long stride, this and this. And we're just walking up and down the aisle going. Actually, no, that was her. She'd go. As her hips went, her head would go. It was really funny. It was great. I mentioned it before where we had a forum and website run by a dancer that was for dancers and industry people. And that's where I made my first couple real connections with a lot of people. And I'm still really good friends with a bunch of them today. Some of my most rewarding, amazing friendships, most supportive friendships have been made through that industry, was with other dancers. One of my very good friends who I got to do her bridal makeup, actually. She and I met when we were doing a rookie week at the Caddy Shack, and it was a ridiculous week, and we had ridiculous times. We took a whole bunch of really weird photos, and we were basically kind of going nuts in the change room. Like, one of the girls decided to buy a prop, very large dildo, and we named it Willard. We couldn't name it Willie because that was the name of one of the agents, and we just felt like that was a little bit degrading. You can never live up to a dildo like this freaking big. And it just became this like centerpiece in our lives for that week, where just randomly there'd be two dancers posing with this huge ass thing, and another dancer just taking pictures like, what are you doing? Or one dancer would be taking a nap in the TV room, and another would come at her with Willard like, poking her with this giant rubber dick. And somehow, a bunch of us became very good friends through such shenanigans. And I do feel like some of the bonds that I made were stronger because we were put into such ridiculous situations at times. One of my other really good friends, we, again, were randomly at these completely same points in our lives where the both of us had just gone through these really bad heartbreaks, and we're both in that weird stage of, but I do love him. Maybe I should go back. Maybe we should be friends. Maybe I should let him back into my life. No, that's stupid. Don't do that. He's shit. And we were that person for each other because we were sharing a room. And we're just like, okay, so he did this, he did this. Nah. Fuck him. You deserve better. No, you deserve better. No, you deserve better. Okay, we're friends now. And then we got put into this super awful situation of they wanted to do a show with like a blow up kiddie pool with all of us in it at the same time, and there was 3 of us, and one of them was having some issues, possibly mental health plus drug related. The two intercept a lot. People self-medicate. But she was not in a good place, and we didn't want to be in a blow-up kiddie pool full of water with her, especially because she said she was going to wear her heels into the thing. And I'm like, if you're wearing your heels, I'm wearing mine. Mine have steel caps on the bottom of the stiletto, so yes, do go ahead and wear high heels as we're trying to cavort in a big pile of wet inside a small confined space. Sure, okay. So... And she was getting really awkward with the show. Like, she was trying to put her butt in our faces, and both me and my friend were just not having any of that. We're like, we just don't want to be doing this show. This is stupid. This is such a disaster piece. So I put myself in between my friend and this girl to like shield her from her. I don't even know. I don't remember most of the specifics, but she will always remind me of that. She's like, remember when you shielded me from that girl who wasn't quite in her right mind at that point? I feel like that solidified our friendship. That and the awkward double date we went on. Thank you for coming with me. There was a time where I actually did try to convince a professional wrestler that there wasn't actually that big of a difference between stripping and wrestling. People constantly have weird, antiquated notions of what strippers are, do, behave like, yada yada. He would not believe me when I told him that it's all a work, it's all fake. Like when we're up there acting sexy, we're like, grocery list. Oh yeah, I gotta pick up cat litter. Oh, I miss my cat. Oh, fuck, I have to do laundry. Should I just buy more new clean underwear? Maybe I will. Bet you're up there like, yeah, kitty litter. You're doing a job. Like sometimes it's fun and you get involved and it's fun and you have some fun little things with the audience, but it's a performance. And I kept trying to explain this to him, and he didn't get it until I finally dragged him to a strip club. And we saw one of my good friends who puts on this amazing show on stage. I hadn't seen her in forever, but I'm like, we have to go see Kyla. She's so good. So I drag him into front row, and we're in front row, and she's like doing the sexy pose thing. She's got her leg like this. Hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. And she's still doing the thing and being all slinky and sexy. And she goes, I heard you went back to school. Yeah, I gotta do that. I gotta get the hell out of this industry. And he's sitting there, he's like, it's a work. Yes, it's a work. I've been telling you it's a work for like over a year. Yes, it's a work. Oh my God. I am constantly trying to educate people on how stripping is just like any other job. Just, it's a weird any other job. I mean, there were times when I'd literally be on stage and I go, wow, this is a weird thing to be doing right now. This is kind of weird. Not gonna lie. All these guys are looking at my naked body. That's kind of weird, I guess. I do think it is something that does bring in all types of people. And not just all types of people, but people from every single walk of life. I mean, there obviously is going to be a lot of people from a poor background because it's a good way to make a lot of money without having to invest a lot in college and yada yada. And a lot of people do it to go to college, to buy a house, to do this. They use it as a stepping stone. Others are just like, well, I like doing this and this is my career. And there are people from really educated backgrounds that just kind of go, you know what, I actually make more money doing this, so I'm going to postpone using my master's in whatever and just keep dancing. I had a friend who literally could have been an editor somewhere, but she just kept dancing because it was better money. It was more dependable than trying to get into the job that she was actually educated for. And I've known dancers who had to constantly explain to people how you can reconcile being a Christian and being a stripper. Easy. Christianity is a set of beliefs. Stripping is a job. It's not that hard. We are all hookers, sex workers, who are just trying to sell different parts of their body. And I mean, when it comes down to it, you see a lot of that kind of thing where people don't think twice about people selling aspects of themselves to make a living. When it comes to sex, because it's been so fundamentally put into a compartment of this is what this is for, this is what women's bodies are for, this is it. If you go outside it, they don't look at it the same way as someone doing construction work and using their physical toil and possibly damaging their bodies or whatever. They don't look at it like sports. My ex, who was the wrestler, who had all types of stupid ideas about dancing and sex work, he just couldn't get it into his head where I said, what you and I do is kind of the same thing. You're putting your body out there. I'm putting my body out there. You know they cheer when you take off your shirt, right? They cheer when I take off my shirt. It's the same fucking thing, man. He didn't like that comparison at all. He really didn't enjoy it, but it's true. I'm reminding you that women cheer when you take off your shirt. Come on. The funny thing about reffing is I still managed to kind of be a character when I was a ref. And there's almost like there's definitely an aspect of sex work too, being a woman in wrestling, because to this day, especially with Vince McMahon still being as involved as he is with WWE and what he did with the Divas and what he's done to women's wrestling, there is that aspect of you need to sell a sexual commodity. You need to sell yourself in a sexual way. So even as a ref, especially when we started getting TV filming, people started commenting on the fact that you could see my thong sometimes. So I'm like, fine, that can be my thing. I would literally go out of my way to get like thongs with nice little backs to them. So if it peeked out from my pants when I was doing stuff in the ring, you'd have something nice to look at, which then turned into people trying to guess the color before I got in the ring. And now I'm looking back at that going, that's problematic. Back then, that was just okay, fine. Now I'm marketable. Whatever. But one funny bit was we had this huge, like, battle royal at the end of one of the shows. So we had all the refs in different parts. And I was one of the ones inside the ring, but I was just staying off to the side. And I was kind of doing like almost a half squat kind of thing, like hunkered down, being all involved in the action, watching things intently because I'm reffing and I'm very serious. And this involved me kind of sticking my butt out a little bit. And I hear these two women pipe up, "We don't want to see your underwear." I hear from the other part of the audience, "We do." Anyway, so since they made that little comment, I figured out where they were sitting, and I kind of moved and shifted and made sure that my butt was right in their eye line the entire time. And I kind of jiggled it a bit, because I don't put up with that. Like, no, you don't get to tell me nothing. No. You don't want to see my butt? Then don't look. You don't have to be looking at my butt. You don't have to be looking at my underwear. Some of the guys joking about guessing the color of my thong, and like they would literally ask me like, "Oh, what color is it today?" I'm like, "Watch the show and find out." Why it feels problematic now is because, of course, I was feeding into that sexualization and objectification, even though I'm just a ref, you know? People staring at my butt isn't actually part of my job. And I was just so used to catering to that kind of a thing. And because even in some parts of training and the way things were and what you saw on TV all the time and what was selling, what was being pushed and what was expected of you, even on a lot of mainstream wrestling, that was just in your head of, you know, this is just how it is. This is how the business works. This is what's marketable. This is what's going to put asses in seats. So do this thing. Don't think about it any further than that, because then you go right down into a spiral of, fuck. It did feel like a choice that I made. There were definitely choices that I personally made. Also because it was kind of fun in some ways, you know, that I guess that was just the inner stripper coming out. I'm like, I don't mind people looking at my underwear. They see more than that, whatever. But, you know, sometimes it got to be a bit much because it definitely became a one-note character at one point, especially in the beginning when, in particular, this one person in the old guard, we'll say, who kept coming out with spots where, oh, you know, it lifts up your shirt or it does this, and it was always that one person, and he was always putting that stuff forward. But because he was higher up in the power hierarchy, basically, I kind of, especially because I was a rookie and I was trying to get into the business and yada, yada, yada. And I was trying to be really good at politics, but I'm really bad at politics. Like, that never stuck. I tried to be like the yes man, like, okay, yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, no problem. Do you have a problem with that? I don't have a problem with that. I want to kill you. I want to stab you in the eye. I don't have a problem with that. Fuck. That was actually one of the things that kind of made me leave, honestly. And it was a combination of a bunch of different things that made me leave. But one of the things was the politics, and that particular person ended up taking over the booking for the company at one point. And me and one of the other guys I was training with, who at that point was like my best buddy in wrestling, we would come to the gym early together and we'd practice stuff, and we'd actually see each other outside of wrestling and hang out and have parties where we'd be sitting there in my living room drinking mojitos, and he'd be like, it's a manly drink. Mojito. You know, we had a really good in-ring relationship as well. And he'd already been wrestling for a bit. And this is the second time we tried to make my debut, where we're like, okay, so we have this idea, and my character is going to be this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to have this program, and it's going to involve these people and this feud, and things are going to go like that. We had this whole amazing thing planned out. And our main trainer, was fully behind it, and he was one of the people that's going to be involved in the program. And we brought this idea forth, and on the first night that got booked, and this person who was doing and taking over the booking, he was talking to everybody about what their next step is going to be on the card and yada, 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 what their storylines are going to be. He comes to talk to me, and he just tells me about the match that I'm going to be reffing and what I'm going to be doing in that match that I'm going to be reffing, which included one of like his random buddies from out of province who none of us had worked with before, being in a spot where he kisses me and I slap him. And that was it. That's all he talked to me about. And then he goes up to one of the other refs who had very little training, couldn't really do anything in the ring. Like, he came out to a couple of the training sessions, but he couldn't really do anything. And he goes up to him and goes, okay, so you're going to be wrestling and you're going to be doing this. And I'm just like, that's the last straw. They also fired like 3 people that I was really close with right before. And I think it was like a week or 2 before they were supposed to be doing an out-of-town gig that they were already booked in matches for. No, they got fired. So at the wrestlers meeting before the show, one of the other kind of mainstay guys is like, so if I'm going to be fired, can you just tell me right now? As everybody like awkward laughs like, it's funny, but it's true. But I always kind of got my revenge bit in right before we were supposed to be wrestling the match. Well, they were supposed to be wrestling and I was supposed to be reffing the match, where the guy gives me a kiss. I'm like, so I'm having a cigarette. Right now. Nope. Never heard of it. Okay. And then I'm supposed to, in the spot, he plants one on me and then I push his face away and I'm like, whoops. Oh, sorry. Did I kind of poke you in the eye with my thumb? Sorry about that. And I made the slap rather stiff, and I did everything I could to kind of be like, fuck y'all. And it was kind of great. And then the guy that he was in the ring with, he gets the mic, he cuts a promo, and then he gives the mic to me. And then he lets me talk. I do not remember what I said, but I know I was myself times 100%. I turned the volume way the fuck up. And, yeah, the crowd really loved it, so that was fun. They cheered for me and the good guy. It was still such a mess, and that's when I kind of went, okay, you know, this isn't going anywhere. There's no point. The only thing I really went back for was when Sid Silem and Kyle O'Reilly, the 2 guys that I was, like, closest to probably in the ring, they asked me to come back at one point to ref their match because they'd had this long-running feud, and they've been wanting to do it forever. I mean, they wanted to work with each other, against each other, that kind of a thing, for a long time, obviously, because they were very good friends. And so they asked me, like, we really want you to ref this match, because this match is just so important to us. So I did come back for that, and I don't know if I came back for another show or two after that, but at that point I had moved on. I had started going to makeup school, and that was kind of it. Honestly, a lot of progress is people going part way and stumbling, but they've paved that way for the people going on. And though some of us may have never gotten to where we wanted to be, we may have helped others get a little bit further in where they wanted to be. I mean, the guys that we trained with now have a lot more respect for women and women wrestlers than the old guard guys who would come in when we're training and be like, why are you teaching them punches? They're women, they're girls, they're supposed to be slapping and pulling hair. Why are you teaching them punches? Why wouldn't you teach us punches? Why wouldn't you teach us everything so that we could choose what to fucking use? And of course, when that happened, it was the person who was basically running the promotion at the time who did this when he walked in on a training session. And my friend who I was training with, one of the other women in the promotion, she turns to me, she's like, Alison, don't. Because she knew I was like one scoff away from just letting loose and being like, why the fuck not? Huh? There were so many things that I felt I couldn't vent the frustration of experiencing. Because first of all, like at that point, I still hadn't completely found my voice. I mean, in the most dire of circumstances, I would stand up for myself. I would speak my mind, but it took a lot more to push me to that point than it does now. There was a lot that I held back, and there was probably a lot that I, at the time, didn't realize was as much of a problem as it actually was, because this was at a time where we didn't really talk about what sexual harassment really is, what sexual assault really constitutes. Like, this is at a time where we were still basically led to believe that rape is a stranger coming out of the bushes with like a knife held to your throat. It's not your friend, it's not your partner, it's not your husband, it's not this acquaintance, it's not everything that is within the scope of the most common forms of sexual assault. So, I mean, I didn't have all the knowledge and the access and the terminology and the context that I do now. So looking back at it, I can find a lot where I'm like, oh God, that was really fucked up. And there were a lot of things that I felt were fucked up, but I didn't have the context and the understanding, the absolute definition of boundaries and consent that I know now. Now I look back at it, I'm like, that would not happen right now, I'll tell you what. Yeah, and especially, I mean, in locker rooms, in strip clubs, in these places that are a certain type of environment with a certain type of almost expectation and culture to it, things don't progress as quickly because they're still kind of trapped in a past, so to speak. Boys clubs. The boys need to grow up and the old ones need to die before the actual boys clubs turn into maybe everybody clubs. How about everybody clubs? As for turning these environments into more women-run environments, I don't know if I see as much hope in exotic dance. There were some women there. I knew one woman agent in one agency, which is kind of one of the reasons why I started booking with that particular agency. And then one of the other agencies, one of the owners was a woman who was a former dancer, but they were still mostly male dominated. Same with a lot of the people that worked in the bars, but Some of the best support that I got was from a bartender at the Bird, and she was married to one of the agents, and she had my back when this rando called the police because I kicked him in the head, and I told him 50 million times to sit down. She had my back very many times. She was the one that came to talk to me when I found out my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she was amazing. She was really awesome. And that club, when she was there, was a million times better than it ever was after she left. And she and a bunch of the old guard, basically, of that club left when these absolutely toxic owners took over the club. So I do think it is very important to have more women in male-dominated industries because they only enrich the environments. That is probably going to happen more in wrestling now because thankfully the women's division in the WE is getting more of a push. They've now come away from the Divas title and they're actually trying to call them superstars like all the other wrestlers, which is a step. And the more young women see that representation when they're watching wrestling, the more they're going to think, maybe this is something I can get into. And especially with the general climate of things and with the access of information that we have, with all the knowledge and the movements and the activism going on right now, we have so many more tools at our disposal, and younger people are way more aware of these things. I mean, I have the immense privilege of talking to teenagers, and they will ask me such amazing, thoughtful questions. They're so informed. I mean, God, I overheard like these two teenagers talking about someone in media making transphobic comments and how, well, that's just gonna lose you viewers. Well, that's dumb. You shouldn't make those kind of comments ever. God. And this is just like normal day-to-day dialogue that I overheard at like shopping at Old Navy one day. was these two girls going, ugh, transphobia, gross. Yes. And some of these amazing questions and comments on feminism, empowerment, and so on and so forth, I am hearing from young men that come to my table at the Human Library, you know? So I think there is a lot more hope in the foreseeable future for a greater community, a more inclusive community, less boys clubs, more people's clubs. I think the only point really is it's really exciting to see what's going on in wrestling right now and seeing people that I know succeed, which is really amazing. And I'm looking forward to being at the next Human Library. And well, it's a function run at a high school, so it is being held in a high school for those students for that school at the end of May. And if I get some cool stories from that and experiences and stuff, then I will share them in an upcoming video. I think the Human Library project itself was started in Denmark, and it is a multinational thing. I looked it up on Facebook because I was actually trying to see if there was a group for us Burnaby Human Library books to connect, because we talked about it last time I was there and I never actually got into the info and such. But I know there are community centers, and like the Edmonds Lions Club had a human library and such. So I think if people just look up the Human Library Project, if they want to look into it themselves, or if they want to organize an event, or if they're interested in having an event like that at their school or college or little community thing, it is really great because at the ones that I go to, you get such a wide variety of different people. You get people like me, an ex-white supremacist. There's been a police officer. Gotta be real hard for them now. That was one of the kind of people that was there. The other one where I'm just like, you poor sod, was a guy who's like a financial investor or something. I'm like, oh, good luck with that. I'm gonna have a cakewalk here. People hate me less. People hate me less. I just get naked for money. I don't want to know what they were expecting. I really don't. I like to not follow that up when it's said to me in person sometimes because I just can't handle it. But I mean, sometimes I do ask. If I'm in a space in myself where I'm like, okay, I can handle this. I'm braced for it. Hit me. What were you expecting? But they usually don't want to say that to my face. They're just like, oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I guess all in all, I'm pretty excited about this here new setup. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for tuning in. Do the subscribing thing, maybe. The liking thing, maybe. I don't know. Do the thing. Choose to do the thing. It's your choice. Thank you for joining us at Just Stripper Things. Bye.
Great.
So used to awkwardly rambling at the camera because I still feel kind of awkward in front of the camera, but I ramble.
I'm awkward on interviews, but like I think I'm my absolute best when someone at least joins in on my awkwardness.
Mm-hmm. Fair. That way you have awkwardness to feed off of.
Yeah.
Just
I
feed
also
the
have a lot of
awkward.
questions, too.
Yes, excellent. I like questions.
Like,